Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the RuneQuest rules by Chaosium Incorporated. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. Strong language, mature scenes, and rune magics are on the way. As this is our Glorantha, we will remind listeners that it may vary from the one you already know and love. And now, on to the show. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I am your storyteller this evening, Michael Diamond. My pronouns are he, him, and we are back for our RuneQuest. Tales, Adventures in Dragon Pass, our season finale is upon us. And so we want to welcome you in and especially thank our Patreon supporters who help support the show. A little more on that in just a bit. And then you can see us and find us both on YouTube and on Twitch. So search us out there and then join the show where you can see and hear us do all sorts of just amazing and wonderful things. And so I'm going to get directly to player and character introductions, which start to my right.
Hi, everybody. This is Heather, pronouns she, her, and I am playing Lysana, the initiate of Ernalda, the Earth Mother herself. And I am very happy to be heading into, as we are heading where we're headed, to be one of the new kids on the block.
That should prove very interesting. Next to Lysana.
Hi, this is Jake, and I'll be playing Vargash, son of Gordanger, initiate of Orlanth, and hopefully we can get some of our people tonight.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the goal tonight. Next to Vargash.
Hi, this is James, and I'll be playing Finn, the Man of the River, and I've got to say I'm ready to rock the block. Sounds like it's going to be fantastic fun.
Only you, and you've got the puppets to prove it. Next to Finn.
Hi, this is Morgan, and I'm playing Alara, initiate of Marin Gore. And my pronouns are she, her, as well as Alara's. And yeah, me and Arcat and Lodrill and my buddies, my compatriots, we're all going to check out something new.
Yeah, you and your menagerie of named animals. I love it. I think that's fantastic. I can't wait for you to get your own personal Quake Beast. And last but most certainly not least.
Hi, this is Mav. My pronouns are they, them. I play Faisal, any and all pronouns, initiate of Humacht and of Heller, and I'm here to help.
Indeed you are. Now, normally we would get to lifting the curtain on this veil, but before we do, we're going to allow our special guests tonight to introduce themselves. So go ahead and take it away.
Tjena, I'm Staffan, also known as RQ Staffan, and tonight I am going to be portraying one Irving Greybeard, and I am really looking forward to finding out all the knowledge that these wonderful people are bringing to the table.
Yes, I cannot wait. Thanks for joining us, Staffan, and thanks for being one of our amazing Patreon supporters as well. And so we'll get right to it. Our travels low this season have brought us in many directions. We have seen parts of Dragon Pass. We have seen the Hairborn come of age and change and grow in different ways. We have seen them toil under the occupation. And now they have arrived at the block in hopes of freeing their family. Many of the Hairborn whom they believe are here to be sold off as bondsmen to others. It is not uncommon in this space under the occupation for lunar forces to collect people who they might call rebellious, might call troublemakers, and send them down here to the block where they can sell them off to the highest bidder. And as the block sits between both Prax and Sartar, it is a natural space for many merchants to come and trade back and forth. It is why there are temples here to Saris. It's why there are temples also to Lankermai here for all of the wisdom of the ages that might pass through here, different spaces and places. But make no mistake, the block is not large. It's relatively small. It's a small village. It has a very important purpose, and that is to mark the designation between where one land ends and one begins. And much like our story, as our wagon and horses of our heroes arrive, they can see here on this holy day, as it is, this holy day, they can see that there is work to be done. And so, to update all of us, we are in fire season in Stasis Week on Wednesday, the holy day of Sardar. So traveling into the block is a little different. It sort of reminds you a little bit in some ways of Boldholm. Not in the sense of the large mountains, not in the sense of the grandeur, but what you see are a lot of tents, small little spaces built up before. You also see an awful lot of lunar forces here, but that pales in comparison to the sheer number of what you can only imagine are migrants, people that move from one space to another, traders, people that are just simply plying their regular, normal, everyday lives by the way the road moves. The city, Vargas, couldn't possibly hold all these people. And so it feels almost like you're walking into a diaspora of multiple nations. And in truth, you seem to be. There is very commonly here, it's an understanding that people build a bit away from the road when they set their encampments up. And they have been doing that. And you can tell based on the sheer number of ruts in the ground, how many wagons pass through here. It is an awful lot. And there are times when whomever is dealing with your wagon, probably Finn, or perhaps another who has control of it, who have to sort of steer clear of caravans as they come in and out. But as you approach this village, the block itself, where are you headed?
That's a good question. I guess we need to find some place to stay. If there is any place to stay.
No, without question, there would be places to stay.
Well, it just seems like there's a lot of people here. There might not be very many. Open.
Okay. Yeah, it's certainly something you could investigate. It does appear that on the way up, people are really just taking spaces up by the road and pulling off into this, I struggled to say grass, because there is an awful lot of sand and extra that comes in based off the wind. Because you are very much right on sort of that line, the geographic line, where you can tell the sands of Prax are pretty close.
You know, it probably wouldn't be a terrible idea to camp instead of getting a hotel or an inn.
Right.
Hotel.
Probably no hotels. There's probably not like a Howard Johnson around here. So, yeah, you can certainly set up, you can pull off essentially and then put up perhaps some blankets or something to give yourself cover. Because it's fire season now, and this close to Prax, it's going to get pretty hot.
Yeah, in fact, we might be able to. I mean, I think we have some.
Yeah. I'm certain that either Alara or likely, for that matter, Lysana would have things, blankets for you to lay down on and to prepare meals on, because you can't do everything on horseback, no matter what Alara says.
Well, and, I'm sure everyone, we needed a break or, a nap or just something. I'm sure we'd have blankets. You never know. They're handy. They're useful.
It's true. So you set up a small encampment for yourself. You can position the wagon to keep the wind as best you can. And really what you're probably more interested in is finding out more about where your parents or the surviving Hairborn might be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where we're going to get into the teeth of this. So how do you approach that? And then who is going to go in and investigate?
So the block is nominally under control of the Empire, right?
I would say more than nominally under control. But I would also say that for the block's own good, they still have to allow trade through here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what makes the block useful as a controlling point, militarily speaking, is you control what comes in and out of Sartar. And then also what is taxed. You can imagine that obviously they'd probably lay some sort of tax upon the things that come in, and then the things that go out.
Now, there's no shrine or temple that's open to Orlanth.
Well, it was once at one point, it was a simple altar to the Orlanthi people here,
right.
But it's long been changed, right? You wouldn't see any Orlanth temples visibly anyway. There are probably people who certainly worship Orlanth here,
right.
yourself among them. Actually, really all the Sartorites would in some way.
What other shrines, or are there any temples here?
There are minor temples here. So you would likely make out Isaris and probably a temple you're not terribly familiar with. Maybe that's a Praxian deity. And it looks like there might be signs. You could certainly see the flags of Shalana Arroy. So there's a temple dedicated to the
Okay.
very, very harmonious deity.
And there's no geos here.
Not that you see.
Okay.
Or Joes, as we would call them.
Yeah. It's spelled geos. It's spelled.
It can be Geos or Joes. I'm sure that they accept coin at both.
They better.
Eat it, Joes.
So I got to find a way to get into the local Sardarite underground, as it were.
Okay.
You know, the ones that still worship and believe in a free Sartar.
Oh, you mean rebels?
Not necessarily rebels. Just
Call it what you want.
you know, allies.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough. That's your aim. Are you doing that as exposition to the rest of your fellow Sartorites?
Yeah. Because we need to find somebody who can get us information as to where our people came in, who they've been sold to, etc.
Someone in Asaris or Link or Mai, maybe?
Perhaps. Yeah.
They'd both be connected.
Certainly. Probably the Asar, given the fact of what happens to bondsmen when they come in and when they go out, your best bet is likely an Asari's merchant.
Yeah. They probably even have, manifests.
You bet. They'd have to.
Mm-hmm.
They'd have to.
Right. Let's go talk to the Asaris who wants to come with me.
I'm coming.
Okay.
We will leave the rest of y'all at the caravan for the moment, protecting, making sure horses are fed, watered, and Varghast and Faisal will head in to the block. So the setup here is functional. I wouldn't say that it's pleasant, but one area that gets your eyeballs pretty immediately, both of you, is nearby the entrance to the city. There is a very, very large, I would say, octagonal shape. Like someone put out and made, in a way, like a patio. And for you, Faisal, this reminds you specifically of what reminds you of like a Humakti training ground. It looks a lot like one, except that you don't see any temple to Humakti here, at least not yet. And then you get to see the rest of that space as you continue into the city. And you see lines of people. And in those lines of people behind them, you see merchant stalls. And you see lunar forces. And you see common everyday people talking back and forth. And there's a big board. Like a board that looks like someone's written on it with chalk. And there's a person at the board who's taking directions from someone nearby who absolutely looks like an Asari's merchant, and he seems to be pulling down the board and updating it and putting new numbers back up. It looks a whole lot like a really well-run market.
Okay.
Good place to start.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to head that way?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You head over that way. So I wonder, given like the character's proximity to what goes on in the marketplace, what is the likelihood that you would pay any attention to two probably fairly road-dusted travelers who would be walking in to check out the market?
Initially, I would say none whatsoever, on the basis that they are so nondescript as to defy description. But there is something unusual that I suspect my allied spirit might ping me about, at least concerning one of them, that would draw my attention, that might even draw me out of the rather oddly constructed set of tents that sits on the edge of, or just beyond the marketplace.
Yeah. Your spirit comes to you and in effect whispers in your ears and says, "There is one there who's come in who is marked. I see the symbol on his hand. The dragon newt has marked him."
If I didn't know any better, I would say you must be mistaken. But it is as you say. I strongly suspect that having a conversation with the person or persons involved will be to our advantage, if not betterment. Where is this throwback to the last age?
Yeah, the spirit floats out and points in the direction of a Sardarite male who is, well, quite large, traveling with another person who's well-armored, well-equipped, and if you didn't know it any better, looked like definitely an initiative, if not more, of Humacht. They're here on business of some sort.
Then I will wrap myself in my third best wrappings. My second best, of course, being out for washing, and my first best is still in the chest, back in the tent. And I will head out and politely accost the two travelers, approaching them from the front so as to not cause too much of a fright. I've learned to my cost that when it comes to Humakti, suddenly, yes, not a good idea. But I will walk up to them and politely, deeply bow in a very florid manner. And what approaches you is a very, very clearly aged, if almost decrepit old man. He must be at least in his 40s. He's got long salt and pepper black hair that hangs back below his shoulders. He's got a rich, well-oiled beard that hangs down to his chest and is tied off in numerous pleats. And he says, "Pardon me, gentle beings, but I wonder if perhaps we might not be of mutual service to one another. Irving Greybeard, at your service."
Vargast, son of Gordanger.
Careful with that, Vargast. Just say under my breath. Remember where we are. Faisal of Johnstown.
Ah, you have indeed traveled far. And he's looking at Varghast, but he's not looking at Varghast. He's looking up and over the left shoulder of Varghast. And quite far as well, unless I miss my guess. Perhaps we should... he looks around, noticing, seemingly for the first time, that they're not completely alone in the mass of this crowd. Well, I would welcome you into my abode so that I may offer you proper guest right.
We appreciate that, but we are looking for something specific. We're here on business.
Ah, well, specificity happens to be one of my specialities.
Thank you for your offer. We accept. Side-eyeing Varghast there for a moment.
Without really looking to see if you follow, he wanders back towards this rather strange or unusual tent setup. It's a traditional square, sort of 8-foot tent in the middle, but on 3 of the corners, it's been cut off on the diagonal, and an additional square tent has been put down, so that if you squint at it just enough, it possibly could be some sort of Y shape. He wanders inside and leaves the tent flap open behind him and goes in and sits down amongst a pile of pillows in front of a low coffee table that is covered with just a mess, there is really no other word for it, of blank sheets of parchment.
I lean over to Faisal. What are you doing?
He might have information. He's here in the market. He probably sees quite a lot. Also, it's quite rude to refuse an offer of hospitality in the city.
We have business. He's not even.
And he might be able to help us with that business. He sees things. Look at where he's situated in the market.
Fine. Okay. Fine.
And I'll walk in.
I'll follow.
Okay, you two enter.
Will indicate, yes, please do be seated. Would you perhaps care for some refreshment? I have juices of the finest fruits. They are quite tart. There's tea. I believe I might even have some clear wine.
Oh, yeah, that would be lovely.
Just tea, thank you.
And he'll wander off and deal with hospitality for a little bit, leaving the pair of them.
I look around. I don't go digging through his things or anything, because that would be quite rude, obviously. But I'm trying to get a feel for who this person is and what they do based on the surroundings we're in.
That's probably better explained by our guest as far as all the things you might see in their space.
So you look around, and the first place that your eyes are drawn is that coffee table that is filled with probably 1.5 scores of empty sheets of parchment that is just strewn in a indistinguishable random heap. Looking around the interior of this is the center of the 4 tents. There is surrounding the table is basically just piles and piles of pillows. Off on the back wall is a set of what I term pigeonholes, nail spot, whatever you want to call it, but that have scroll tubes lined up in them. Whether there's anything in the scroll tubes, difficult to tell. There are standing candelabras, one in essentially each corner, but they're currently unlit. When you take a second and you breathe in over the smells of spice and sand and mud that comes in from outside, not to mention humanity, there is a subtle scent of what I would best describe as spiced oil that seems to come from the candelabra. There's openings into the other 3 tents. You glance in, one of them appears to be some sort of probably sleeping chamber. There's a built-up platform with what appears to be a bed roughly made up on it. Some wooden chests. Another one has, interestingly, what appears to be an armor stand standing inside it. And there is looks to be some sort of metal armor on there. The third, you see a quite clean, given that the mess sort of that the rest of this space is in, the third opening seems to hold a very clean space, quite white, with just a single, probably a square cut stone on it, but it's draped with a white piece of cloth that has a run of truth runes, so Y shapes around the bottom of it, embroidered in variously blue and red.
Lean into Varghast. We may be able to learn something from this person. They may have seen, but I would caution you not to use your father's name here. It might be known, and if they know that you're his son, that could cause trouble for us.
Understood. So are you a sage?
Vargas is just like asking into the open.
Yeah.
Well, more specifically, says the voice almost behind him a little bit, as come out bearing a platter of various snacks and goblets and a couple of bottles. Put down on the table, move some of the paperwork aside to make space. More properly, I am a grey sage, in that I hail from New Pavis. Well, to be fair, I do spend most of my time out on the road. I do find the libraries to be so stuffy. And those stuff nincompoops over in Johnstown and Notchit that believe that just because they have a big building that they are something, well, that's their lookout. But I couldn't help but notice, young sir, that there's perhaps more to you than a first glance might appear. And yet again, he's looking up over your left shoulder.
I don't know. I've never had that problem before. Most people think there's too much to see at a first glance.
But I am sure that there is, as you say, if you come here on business, and frankly, he shrugs a bit solemnly, there is really only one business here in the village. But you are perhaps looking for information, or, well, you did say specifics. And it's difficult to be specific without knowing what to be specific about, he says, and he moves about 3 or 4 of the pieces of paper about on the table.
Well, we're looking for some people that we know that have been taken.
Well, then I would say that you are quite probably in the right place. After all, the nature of the village is such that a lot of people pass through here.
I can easily see that being the case. What we need to know is when they passed through here and where they may have passed to.
Ah, research!
Yeah.
Well, it is fortunate for you, my golden friend, if friend I may call you.
Sure. I like friends.
But research, specific research specifically, does happen to be quite a bit a hobby of mine.
Well, that's lucky.
I'm going to break from the scene really quick, and I'm going to move back to the encampment. So, Finn and Ilara and Lysana have been, we'll say, for probably the better part of about a half an hour at this point, just hunkered down, preparing, relaxing, trying to get a lay of the land. While doing so, a party on horseback coming from the same direction you came into, coming towards the block, comes into view. There's probably about 6 of them. And as they pass by at speed, I'd say more than a trot, but not a full gallop, I'm going to give you all scan rolls, and I'm going to give them to you at 20%. So make your roll, add 20 to your skill, because this is going to be pretty easy for you to pick out.
Lysana gets a 39 under 45.
51 under 55.
Right.
All right, so I have a 29 under 60.
Okay. So the 6 riders that pass, they pass so in a diamond pattern. So a single rider in front, 2 flanking someone in the center, and then 2 behind the center rider, and then 1 trailing just a little bit. And the woman in the center is someone all of you know way too well. That is Ashigar of Furthest, the woman you ransomed.
Oh.
Fancy meeting her here.
No, don't let her see you.
No.
Do they see us?
No, I'd rather not.
That's a great question. Let's find out. Do they see us? Do they see us? That's a wonderful question, answered by the 2 that I've rolled. So as this column passes by and you see her, and you see an immediate flashback to the burning veil, to the tree, to all of the events that took place, to the binding of her and taking her to Boldholm to be ransomed. And that look on her face when you turned her over, and that feeling in your gut that it wasn't over. All that plays out. And she locks eyes with the group of you as she passes by. And there is little more than a knowing sneer on her face as she keeps going.
Finn waves.
I grab my bow.
Okay.
And raise it.
I stare intently right back at her with a small smirk of my own.
I mean, if you're going to fire at her, Laura...
I'm not firing. But my hatred of the Lunars is at 70%. So
yeah, sure. There's a lot of people for you around here to hate on.
Yeah, so much hating going on.
Yeah, the column passes and with it, a wave of emotions fall all over you.
Yeah, Vargas is not going to be excited about that. Or he might be.
Vargas loves to see old friends.
Hmm.
And he's a huge fan of surprises, I happen to know.
Hmm.
Is he, though?
We'll cut back to the tent now.
I suppose for your research to be successful, we might need to give you a little bit more information.
The more information, the better.
There was a large group of prisoners brought in probably a couple weeks ago. They all came from the same clan.
I can see this is going to be a good amount of information, he says, and he wanders back or reaches back and pulls out one of the scroll tubes from the pigeonholes and takes out a very long, like probably about 9 inches long feathered quill that he quickly sharpens with a rather dull yet strangely shining metal, nowhere near as red gold as your average dagger would be, and starts to write down in black ink on this parchment. Now, what's immediately noticeable is that he's writing using black ink, but no ink is being absorbed onto the parchment. As he starts to take notes and sort of nods along, half to himself, half to the pair of you of a large group. Do go on. What hair color did they have?
Dark-haired. Sardorites, of course. They would have been known as the Haraborn.
I assume that's hair as in rabbit, not hair as in styling.
Yeah, for your character, Staffan, he would not have to. You would not have to spell it.
Yeah, it's. He's having a little bit of a private joke with himself. The Haraborn. Now, Haraborn. Why does that ring a bell? Why does that? And he starts to rummage through the piles of paper, and he then yes, and he reaches underneath a pillow and pulls up a what looks like almost a proclamation or a service list or something. He goes, yes, here. Yes, apparently they're due on the to be presented quite shortly.
Shortly?
Yeah, the list says today.
Today. All of them?
Apparently in 4 lots.
Well then, we should find these groups.
Well, I assume that they will be. Yes, this doesn't unfortunately say who brought them into the village, but I would imagine that they're being that they would be where that group is.
All right. Well, I thank you for the help.
No, of course. I would be remiss if I didn't offer, because you do have me rather intrigued at this point. My services, should you wish a go-between in whatever transaction you are contemplating.
Well, we would be happy to take up your services in such transaction. But first we need to locate these individuals. I need to talk to my companions.
Oh, yes, quite. Companions, yes. Strange concept. But there is some... Oh, yes, I will forget my own head next. What brought me to your attention in the first place, my young sir? I believe I have something that you will find of use. It's here somewhere, and he starts rummaging through all the blank pieces of paper and pulls one up, looks at it, holds it up towards the opening of the tent and the light, and puts it down and shakes his head, pulls up another one, and goes, yes, here we go. Johnstown Compendium 167,492. Free stay, disorder week, Earth season 1608. Brethren, it is with quite some joy that I can confirm that my initial suspicions are right, and that the depredations of the Golden Horde were not complete, but that some of our ilk managed to disperse before our utter annihilation at the end of the age. Spread far and wide between Deathline and Glasswall and beyond, places such as Olarost, Bonbola, Pavis, etc. The knowledge remains and will hopefully be found again. Signed, Farang Farosh.
Forgive my impertinence, sir, but what does that mean?
I honestly don't know, but I have the sense that it will be of interest.
Look at Varghast.
I shrug.
So, to perhaps jog the player memory, there was a conversation had between you and Shah about how there were ways to travel the roads and to potentially find things which could change the balance of the fight at Whitewall.
Right.
It's really the only thing that would probably tip that memory off.
I mean, maybe. I mean, it's just a guess. If it's connected to a conversation I had, then it's dealing with the hidden paths, the dragon newt paths. Maybe it's pointing to some people that have information or something. It's information.
Well, for clarity, like Pavis is a place.
Right.
So,
like, go to Pavis and maybe you can find something there.
Possibly.
That's a far stretch. Just the general message like that. But it's more than we have now.
Every little bit helps, as they say.
Indeed. As you may have surmised, we are looking for the Dragon Pass.
I would be remiss were I not to warn you in the strongest possible terms of how the search for knowledge such as that brought down the entire world as we knew it, the loss of the Great Temple, the expulsion of mankind, the dragon kill, the closing of the seas. However, I sense about you an unusual honesty in your search to recover that knowledge, the yearning to enter the dream, to seek Utumna, to find Ororobos. You could do worse than sleep on it.
Oh, there is still time.
I think that was a hint, Vargast.
Outside the tent, and really outside the space that you're in, there is a uproar of sound from many hooved horses. You can hear a score or so of large horses riding in. There's loud voices, both low tones and high tones. And with it, Vargas, you can sort of feel a really distinct and unwelcoming energy. You start hearing people talk in what you're fairly certain is Peloran.
Lunars. Probably have one of their witches with them.
And that's when you hear a voice that you've heard before. It's a woman's voice.
Fuck.
And she is asking very clearly, where in today's lots are we? You can tell that there's some response from the merchants working the block about where they're at. And a tension forms within the tent here.
Get up. Go to the flap.
Pull the flap up. You see from across the space here, there are 6 or 7 different lunar soldiers there. Their horses are being taken to a space where some of the occupation forces are kept. And sure enough, plain as is the red that she wears, the red woman from the Vale, the woman from furthest, is here. And with her, a small group of lunar soldiers. And they are now, in effect, setting up a sitting area near the outer portion of the block's octagonal market space. And they appear to be lining up with some of the, in the same way that other people do, to bid on the bondsmen that come up in lots. So back at the wagon and the horses, after seeing this display and after reacting, what are folks there doing?
Finn, after he stops waving at the ends of their horses, he turns to the others with the other two. We should go. Vargast is, him and Faisal are probably in over their head even as we speak.
Let's do it as naturally as possible.
By all means. Wouldn't want to arouse suspicion. I mean, not that she doesn't know who we are.
She knows exactly who we are.
Finn, takes down the few cloths and such and hurriedly repacks the wagon.
Yeah, it does not take you terribly long.
Yeah.
And hey up.
Okay.
Lysana jumps up in the front of the wagon with Finn and realizes that Finn has not fully painted over everything. As she, just before sits down, realizes there's still a few of the symbols on the seat.
Finn pushes a blanket over them.
Yeah. We do tie Faisal and Vargas horses to the back of the wagon.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure we bring those with.
You head into the block and see very clearly, but not too far really from the entrance, where the market for the exchange of bondsmen for coin is done. The block's purpose is known to really everyone. And people come from all over to acquire others whom they can put to work for them. It does also not take you terribly long to see Ashkara, the woman from furthest, sitting under a very simple red awning now, having appropriated or had a seat created for her so that way she has comfort, perhaps even a large pillow to lay her back on. And she has a small group with her, armed lunar soldiers, and she just calmly and very rhythmically fans herself in the fire season heat here. And people, lots of bondsmen, are beginning to come up. Vargas, you and Faisal would see your group, your fellow traveling companions, arriving.
Yeah, we'll have to go meet them.
And for you, Staffan, you know that if they're going to get in the middle of this bidding process, they will need someone to bid for them, as they have no right to do it on their own. They will need an agent to place the bid.
So as they start to make their moves to head out, let me will say, as just before you do leave, be aware of the peculiarity about the way that the Isseries run their market here in the village. In order to preserve the safety and anonymity of both sides of the transaction, they require the use of middlemen. Some would perhaps say that this is merely another way for the Isseries to gain a bit more recompense by adding to the manpower involved. I personally find that the extra paperwork involved is of an overall benefit to the state of knowledge.
And I suppose it must be a merchant of Asaris that acts as the intermediary?
Not a merchant per se, but at least a lay.
Would you happen to know of someone we could recruit for such a purpose?
And he'll look up on the top of the bookshelves that has all the scrolls, where sits a about 8-inch tall clay statuette of a man in a very wide-brimmed hat that has no beard. It's the only unbearded statuette in the set of tents that you've seen so far. And he goes, I, for one, could certainly assist you in this.
Look at Vargast.
Well, the truth is, we don't have the funds to buy more than one or two, maybe, if we're lucky.
Now, you do have the writ.
Right.
You have the paper, which was given to you by another Asaris merchant. So
But
it's still a piece of paper.
it's still not that much money. But I would be willing to pay you to find out where they go.
He says, the Morocanth ploy.
Yes, exactly.
If you say so.
So what say you?
It is a bit unusual, but it is still a factual discovery of specifics with regards to specific pieces of specific knowledge. I think that would fall within the bounds of the discovery of truth, as I understand it.
That's perfect then, specifically.
Head outside the tent. All right. So the group that's coming in can quite easily see Vargas as he steps out from this multi-tent structure. It's not even a single tent. It's like something you might see at a larger caravan site. Assumably, Faisal is very close behind.
Yeah, I make eye contact with Vargas. Looking at you.
Mm-hmm. And yeah. So we make our way over to them.
Okay. Have at it.
So, as luck would have it, our people are up for sale today. And I'm guessing
Well, that
quite
would
soon here.
explain.
Yeah, that's what she's doing here.
Lovely.
Now, we can't bid ourselves, but we don't have much money even if we could. However, I have enlisted the services of a gentleman to figure out where our kinsmen are going.
Can you trust this person?
I think so.
I think so.
He might be a little touched in the head, but
Maybe him and Finn are related then.
what was up with all those papers? There was nothing on them.
Some kind of magic, I assume. So at least we'll be able to see who survived of your people. We'll get that information at least, and our new friend can help us learn where they go, so when we're able to, we can get them back. Is that the plan, Varghast? All right.
It does not take more than maybe 5 minutes or so for things to get moving. And by moving, I mean physically moving. You begin to see people brought in. And for the most part, the first few lots are very, I don't want to say meager, but they look mostly like farmers. Not anyone you recognize. No one here recognizes anybody specifically just yet. But there are clearly people from Prax. There are clearly people from that are likely in and around here that have come to bid on what they can for assistance. And the entire time, there are probably 5 different bidding groups. And they go back and forth. And then eventually this gentleman who seems to head up the process, you catch his name, Sarro, Sarro. He eventually awards the winner. And then he seems to listen to various different groups about what their value might be, and then get moved along. And by midday, it's sort of the height of the heat. You can feel it. A group of people get moved in here, and it is very difficult to watch them be moved in. This is mostly because they are wearing bracelets that have chains attached to them. And you can see that they're very carefully constructed. They're marked. You don't know what they are. But seeing your father moved in, his once muscled body having drooped a bit, is difficult. Many of your parents arrive. Your father is not amongst them, at least this group. Alara, your mother is missing. You do not see your Uncle Seven. And the officiant reads out, this is a group of Sardarites taken within the past 2 seasons. They come from farmland, but many of them have skilled trades. We will begin the bidding on this. He sort of points to one of the people within the group. No one's direct relative, but clearly someone from the Harrowborn clan. And the red woman's voice cuts through the air. She says, we would like to bid on the entire lot. Or is there a subsequent lot beyond this? Because we would like them as well. There's a bunch of murmuring that goes around. Sarro sort of puts his hand up. One lot at a time. You can see her sort of slowly sit back. Very well. But it's my understanding that these Sardarites here are rebels. And so anyone bidding on them should perhaps be concerned that they might rebel against your even-handed leadership. Again, another disbursement of murmurs amongst the bidding crowd.
Finn looks back at the woman and wipes his brow with a very familiar old bag. Smiles at her.
She doesn't really give you much of the time of day, really.
Oh, that's okay.
The bidding starts. There are, say, 8 in this lot. It begins at 400 Ls. What I want to know is, are you bidding? It starts at 400. All right, so I wonder if our Asari's friend might have an idea about how he would go about the bidding process with between the, say, factions that are here. We'll say, just for your knowledge, there is a Asarite faction here, likely from, we'll say they're from both of them. There is a lunar faction here, very clearly. There is a Praxian merchant here as well. And so I wonder how you would approach the back and forth.
I think from Herbin's perspective, he's going to be an occasional but vociferous bidder, by which I mean that he's going to let the other 3 groups kind of find, call it the market price between them. But then as they seem to settle down, he'll inject, providing he'll have asked the group for what is his limit per group or whatever, just so he doesn't overstep. But he'll attempt to basically restart the other 3 groups, hoping to drive them out without going through. So if they go 4, 5, 6, 650, 7, 725, come in at, say, 800.
Okay. So I wonder, and maybe you could give me some insight into this, there's likely a pretty solid skill choice for something like this.
Certainly in RuneQuest 2, which is where I would go, it would be bargaining.
Yeah, that works for me. All right, so I'd like you to make a bargain roll. I will make one as well.
Absolutely. So I'm going to claim 47 on 60.
Okay. So for the first lot, you managed to sort of cut out the Praxian pretty quickly. When it gets to 650 to 700, he clearly begins looking in a different direction. But this bidder, this lunar priestess, seems to have some sort of a bone to pick. And she sticks with you clearly up to 850. It's almost as if she's enjoying herself.
Clearly there's knowledge and information that Bargash and Fatal Vessel, etc., have accidentally neglected to bring forth in front of me. But this is nothing new. This is what happens to Lankormai on a daily basis, and this is why we hold the knowledge we gather so close to our chests, because it's very dangerous in the wrong hands. I think I would ask if I might make an insight roll to get a sense of when I should step back, because it's quite clear, at least in these initial rounds, that she's going to be capable of outspending me by a lot. The question really is just how much can I make her hurt by it?
Fair enough. I'm happy to give you the insight roll.
Accidentally falling over.
Yep. I think that's a really smart play. So I will counter with I think act. That seems reasonable.
Absolutely. I've rolled a 35 under what I believe to be 40.
Okay. So I've rolled a 64 over my skill of 55. So you get a bit of a tell. And it's not just in the way she is bidding, but it is actually the occupant that she is bidding for. There is a person amongst this lot when they sort of bring them forth and bring them back to show these individuals off to those who are bidding. There's a very particular person that she looks directly at, and he is perhaps 20 or so years older than Vargast, but he is just the same height and proportion. Your insight begins to tap on the back of your head that perhaps these two are not just related, but very closely related. And then a storyboard sort of forms in your head about what's actually going on here, why they need these people, although it's not confirmed.
Well, he did introduce himself as the son of somebody who he quite clearly held in some respect, given his tone of voice, etc. So I think I'm going to glance over at the group with a sort of raised eyebrow, questioning look.
Not a single unclenched jaw in the lineup.
So if I can ask, just because I love calling them out, whom among you has truth at 90 plus?
75.
What's Faisal's truth rune?
86.
Yeah, pretty close. You know the function that this agent is trying to figure out for you, right? Trying to get sorted. And you also know that he does not know the whole story. You know that. And there's now some concern that could be detrimental to the bidding process because he doesn't know how important these people are. And so your agent might be acting with perhaps one hand tied behind their back, and it could cause you to lose this bid. Do with that what you will.
When he looks over at us and we can kind of start to feel that stare boring into our direction, Lysana will tear her eyes away from looking at her people and not necessarily look at him, but just enough to kind of turn her head, just enough so that she's not talking away from him. Yes, the answer you're looking for is yes. The Earth Mother, Hairborn from the Veil. So yes, they're worth just a little bit more than the L that you have at your disposal from us. So I apologize, but you are up against forces that you did not see when you took this on. Though I do appreciate that you did. I don't know what you can do. But if you can save any of them, please help us keep what few we have left. As long as one of us draws breath, we will never fully die from the face of this world. But I'd rather have a few more on our side, if you know what I mean. That one there, the first one brought to the side, the third from the left. My compatriot who employed you, that's his father, who led our people against the red wave. Death would be a kindness, but I'd rather keep them alive. If you can save them, do it. And she just takes 2 steps back again, leans against the wagon at that point.
And maybe it's the humanity of the situation. Maybe it's the ask of one light bringer to another in the face of what is, after all, invading chaos, as some would have it. But you see Irving hesitate momentarily, then reach onto his cloak wrap, undo the chain that holds it closed, the center of which has an amulet with what you've so far taken to really just be a piece of quartz. Nothing much. And he just holds it up to the crowd as there almost spreads. You can hear the hush spread out in a wave. Significant portions of the crowd see what this is. As he says, assuming we've gotten to a level of about 900, maybe 1,000 elves or so.
Yep. Sounds about right.
And he says 100 wheels, which basically doubles the bid.
The lunar group stops moving about. You sort of get still for a second, and the red woman sits up and even then stands up out of her chair. She looks surprised, but still sort of continues with her playful smile. 100? Aye. Very well. The auctioneer, Sarl, looks at her. Is there a counter? She puts her hands up. No? Let them have this one. I'll get the next. The auctioneer staff come to you to firm up your purchase.
And just to clarify in
Please.
Background, as it were, that is a clear 2-point piece of true stone.
Right. Yeah. It is exceedingly expensive materia. And they certainly accept it if you offer it. So with it offered, they bring over a group of your people. Amongst the group is Gordangar, your father. Amongst the group is Lysana's mother. And then various people from within the inner ring, likely members of your father's house, like the actual guards themselves. These are fellow Heraborn that are brought over. And they are, while not malnourished or something like that, it doesn't appear that they've been mistreated. They look haggard from being bondsmen. And once the price is paid, these workers at the block take off these essentially chains, manacles, and you are reunited with parts of the tribe or parts of the clan. He collapses onto the rail there. That is there, this little fence that separates the octagon from the rest of the blocks, the village itself. I can't believe you came all this way. He looks back. There are at least 2 other lots. The True Stone bidding may have won you this lot, but even you would know that they are not likely to be able to win many more lots. And even with good bidding, the red woman is easily flush enough to outbid all of you. She makes certain to put that show on. That being said, because I like a little bit of fun, I'm wondering, Finn, would there be something that you might want to do to upset the process here, to change the flow of events? Because I can't imagine that an Ermali is just going to sort of let this happen without having some hand in.
Yeah, not so much. First of all, this has been a fairly long and somewhat arduous process, right? I mean, it's not just a quick thing. This is kind of an all-day thing.
Yeah.
Are there refreshments being served?
No, without question.
Oh, fantastic. Shortly into this ordeal, Finn, who is of no use to the bargaining, begins to work himself with the servers. And he makes sure that the Lunars are well served.
Oh, okay, interesting.
He even includes a few bottles of his own wine.
Really? Anything specific?
Well, the extra, the spiced wines that he has cultivated over the last couple of months that he was looking for someone to serve to en masse, but the ones with choke cherries, the ones with the, just various.
Certainly.
He's going to cause as much havoc for as many of them as possible. And I'm assuming she is so busy watching the bidding and making sure that she is 100% on top of things. Finn makes sure to serve her last.
Okay, so I'll just put this very bluntly. There is no way you're getting near this woman to serve her a drink. No way. She is surrounded by at least 5 lunar guards.
A cadre.
You are not serving her directly. That does not mean that you could not potentially find a way to get a drink into a servant's hands who would then serve her. I am fine with that.
That is his goal.
Okay. I think that would be fun, and what we are looking for is maximum game fun. And so I'm going to have you make a hide roll, and I'm going to have someone make an opposing scan roll. And if you are not picked up, then perhaps what you could do is replace some of the wine that they are serving with something maybe that you have altered or changed a bit to have an effect.
Right.
And you can, of course, if you'd like, you are certainly more than willing to use Runic Inspiration for such an act.
I was actually going to ask about Runic Inspiration. I'd like to use my illusion rune.
Sure.
With all of the hubbub and the craziness going on here, I would like to invoke the we'll call it the visual stimulus overload of this room right now, and blending in with that discord.
Yeah, do it.
All right, so on my illusion, I got a 2.
Okay, your illusion
2 under. Hang on, it's 83.
Yeah, certainly going to be a critical.
Yes.
Right, so it's plus 50, I think, to the roll. You actually might be able to slip a drink into this woman's lap, given that your hide roll. But no matter. Go on.
I got a 31 under 70.
Okay. Good. I have rolled a 6 on my scan, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Hand of Fate for Finn, and I'm going to upgrade his roll, and thus allow him to surreptitiously exchange the wine in question, and see what plays out after that. Okay.
Thank you, Patreon.
Yeah, that's what they're there for. Plus all sorts of other fun things. So since I've given Finn an opportunity, I would love to give, say, the rest of the characters who are not directly involved in the bidding process, if there are things they would like to do along the way to potentially either rile up, upset, change direction, or in other ways, change the outcome of what is likely to happen. I want you to have a hand in it if that's what you want.
Just waiting for Alara to start an earthquake over here.
Or shoot somebody, or
I was thinking about it. Where are my quake beasts?
Something.
Well, your hatred of the Lunars is evident.
It is very high.
And as the lots continue to come up, and you do see other members of the clan, it is clear that this woman plans to buy them all. Well, all except the first lot that came up.
Yeah, and the more she buys, the hotter I get.
Yeah.
And it's just not because it's fire season.
She is doing this on the holy day of Sartar.
Yeah, and the more she buys, the hotter I get. And the lines on my legs become more apparent. I mean, they're already, they're gold. But they start to maybe shimmer a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Our cat gets close to you, sensing your frustration and the mounting anger, the volcano which is building inside of you.
I look over at Vargas for approval.
I nod.
Yeah, so I'll cast Blast Earth right where the red woman is.
All right. Okay.
There's only 5 lunar guards. Come on, guys.
I mean,
and everybody else that's there.
Right, yeah, everybody else. But no, it's cool.
It's cool. We'll just tell them to run. You told me I could. That's why I looked for approval.
I'm not your keeper. You make your own decisions.
But you're my future chieftain, so
No.
I was looking for you for approval. See? And somebody to blame later if it all
Right,
goes
right. Well, that's fair.
We see why I ate that.
Okay. Blast Earth. I think this is a fantastic idea that can't possibly end in a terrifying outcome for you.
Spell is cast on an area of land geometrically proportionate to the number of rune points expended, with each point doubling the prior step. So I can cast 3 rune points, which is all the rune points I currently have, and that's 4 square meters. No plants within the blasted area can flower or bear fruit for a full year. It doesn't talk about human, kind of hit points it does, so... But I still feel like it should do some damage.
First of all, it's instant. So that's a key point here, is that it's instant. It's going to happen immediately. I think what I would have applied was, say, like a d6 damage per 10 feet they fell, and 3 rune points is 4 meters. You're blasting the earth, essentially creating a hole in the earth 4 meters deep, which is roughly 12 feet. So everyone's going to fall, and they're going to potentially take, we'll say, 2d6 points of damage, potentially. And they're going to get some sort of roll to see what happens to them. One of the things that's important to understand is that your Humakti is not going to really see this as a nice thing to do. So yeah, I'll make some dex rolls. No problem there. I can do that. Okay. And I would just say 3. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm still sitting on load roll, and I am just I feel like I'm going to have to tear every single piece of my clothing off. This is how hot it is at this point. And my cheeks are just red, and I'm sweating, and I finally just feel this release come to allow myself to do what I've been wanting to do for the last how many seasons. And I cast Blast Earth under where the red woman sits. And you can start seeing the rock and the ground shake underneath her. And it's starting to bubble up and crack.
Yeah, the bubbling and cracking takes about maybe 0.2 seconds. It's an instant spell. So it's something that is immediate, violent, and it ruptures the earth. When it does, 2 of these lunar soldiers they basically disappear from sight, and the other 3 spring out of the way. The red woman does as well. And then there is this sort of horn blast that goes off in the area, and it's actually mimicked very soon thereafter by several different, perhaps a Praxian rider and a few other people on the back end of the block itself. And you watch as people begin to react. The lunar soldiers don't, and the red women don't take any aggressive steps. They stay back. because what you see is sort of the collective group of people that have agreed to do peaceful transitions and peaceful exchanges all look at you like you're the problem. And Sarl's voice booms over the group. And he says, "Enough! Enough! I have sensed this coming. There will be no violence here. You there," he points down at you. "What business do you have causing such a disruption at this market?"
Are they looking at me?
Yes.
Okay.
No, they're looking at Finn.
Actually, speaking of, while they're looking at her, is this when I managed to hand her a glass of wine?
No, probably not. No, she probably has already ingested the wine at this point.
Fantastic.
Go on, speak up. What is the meaning of this?
I'm sorry. I just can't see my people taken away again.
Cool off.
She like shoots daggers at friggin' Vargas.
I throw you a wink.
Fine. I trot off.
The red woman dusts herself off. Ashigara turns to Saro and says, "Is this the way we are to be treated? We are to be thrown spells at for winning bids? Sounds like someone is a sore loser. First, they lose their home. Then they lose their people.
Just like you lost your freedom.
But I've regained
and
it.
Your pride.
Nay.
You're the sore loser.
Because I can afford your families.
Because you licked the boots of the Emperor.
I love our Emperor. And so do many of your people now.
Of course they do. You've given them no choice. But the day will come. You'll all be run out.
I look forward to you trying.
Beat you once, I can do it again.
Really?
Indeed.
Oh.
And there's a lot less of you here now than there were then.
Very well. Let us see. Carpus. One of the lunar soldiers attend her. We shall see if your words are true. I challenge you to a duel of honor. Carpus is my champion.
I accept.
The middle of the block, that wonderful open octagon space opens up. She attends her champion. So those of you with, let's just say knowledge of spell working can tell that she's clearly assisting him.
Oh, I start praying. I start pulling it all together.
Go up to Vargast. That was foolhardy. But Gods be with you. And I'll put 5 points of blade sharp onto his whichever weapon he's using.
Okay. Fun times.
They'll beat my blade sharp, so I don't know.
Listen, the Humakti are good for a lot of things. Blade sharp being one of them.
Humakti would rather be the one fighting it, but can't really because they weren't the one challenged, so here we are.
That's very true. Although I'm certain that...
I could have made you my champion, but...
You could have, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm certain that the Humakti are paying very close attention to make sure no one breaks an honor duel.
Mm-hmm. Are you sure about this, Vargast?
It's done.
The lunar champion, Carpus, stands prepared. He is using a long, curved blade and a shield.
Vargast, will you not let me? I can stand for you.
No, I have to do this myself.
Orlanthe. Just mutter under my breath. But I step back and I'm going to keep an eye on this whole thing to make sure it's honorable on both sides.
Okay.
And I cast strength 2 on myself.
You cast strength 2 on yourself. Very good.
Finn also begins to pray. Everyone's used to it from Alara and Lysana, but Finn sits down in one of the seats, cracks open a bottle of wine, and prays to the wine, and then begins to drink it as well.
Okay. Wine accepts your prayers.
Fantastic.
Did you already cast strength on yourself?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, okay. Then I can't cast vigor on you.
No.
I can. All right, so let's do this. I will pray and cast second sight and just observe, just look this champion, this lunar so-called champion over.
Mhm.
So what are we looking at here? Allows the target to view the power aura of living beings and spirits and gauge their relative strength.
Okay, so I'd say POW is probably, because it just gives you a gauge of whether it's higher or lower than yours, right?
So looking at, I basically would be looking at Varghast and looking at this other.
I'd say that they're probably, what's your POW, Vargas?
14.
I'd say that they're probably roughly about the same POW level for you, Lysana. I'll even give you a little bit of flavor text that this man has been, that he's had several spells cast on him.
I wish I could provide more. I don't have anything.
That's okay. Just be there with the healing when I need it.
Well, then keep enough of your health there that I can add to it later.
I hold up a hand and look at Ashigara. What are the terms of this duel?
My champion is dedicated to me and to the Emperor's will. And so I am prepared for him to play to the end.
Varghast.
If Varghast would rather play to first blood, I'm certain that it'll show the Sardarite weaknesses.
To the death. To the death it is.
She just pats Carpus on the shoulder. He steadies his shield in front of him, his copus in hand, and moves out into the space. Not at you, but just moves out into space, making it clear that he's prepared.
All right. Well, I'm as prepared as I'm going to get.
Okay. So the first thing we do in any RuneQuest combat is we declare our intent.
Well, my intent is to advance and attack.
Okay. Very clearly, your opponent is recognizing that you have a reach weapon, and so he is prepared to block said weapon and stave off any strike back for, let's say, better timing.
I think Herving, standing back, observing all of this, is merely going to cast knowledge on the opponent to see what tactics they are using as a merely academic interest.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you get the immediate sense that what the opponent wants to do is protect himself from getting stabbed and wait for an opening, because while the spear is long and the wielder is big, if he can weather an immediate storm, he might be able to get in and deal some real damage with the right timing. It's on strike rank 2.
All right.
Unless you're casting any rune magic.
No.
Okay.
That is 56 under 67.
Okay. Your first spear comes in and gets parried with the shield. On right rank, I don't really need to go through the blow by blow because there's really only 2 of you. On his action on strike rank 6, he's going to swing with the Copus.
Right. I am going to dodge.
Okay.
33 under 45.
Okay. You dodge out of the way of a very, very swift swing. Resets his feet and resets the shield.
18 under 67.
Ooh, 18 under 67. Okay. So that's going to get past his shield roll. So why don't you roll location for me?
Right leg.
Oh, okay.
Ah, the legs. They love the legs.
Don't we all? Go ahead and roll damage. Now remember, there's 5 levels of blade sharp on that spear.
Right.
So that will alter your damage.
Yeah, it will. That's 22 points of damage.
Okay. That is an awful lot of damage. Okay. Yeah, you come down really hard on his leg. It gets through his shield and leg armor. His leg armor does take a bit of the blow, but it definitely cuts into his leg. And you can tell that it's a pretty major wound for him. It does not keep him from striking, though.
Sure. I'm going to parry this one.
Okay. You're going to need to.
14 under 67.
All right. I rolled a 9. And so I'm absolutely going to hit you, or otherwise would. But you feel something in your body move out of the way, as if you are more agile than you believed yourself to be. And you are invigorated with the same feeling that you got when you came through that sort of fiery initiation ritual. And what you feel inside of you is the wider move. I'm going to spend a hand of fate for you and keep you from getting critted on. You parry, but just barely. And he is going to, in effect, use the shield to try to punch you in hopes of landing a blow.
I'm going to try to dodge that.
Okay.
43 under 46.
Okay. He does hit you with the shield.
Okay.
Let's roll location. And you're going to get hit in the head with the shield.
Ah, man.
But there's no blade sharp on the shield, so that's helpful. Are you wearing head armor?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's probably good. 7 points damage to your head.
All right.
You get your bell rung. And it's probably something that as the crowd watches and as your fellows watch, it's even after the leg wound, severe leg wound that you've dealt him, it is probably scary to watch you get hit in the head. But
and you hear that across the field.
Yep. I'd like the party, if they could, here at the beginning of the second round, to make scan rolls for me, except for Finn, who is is doing something very specific right now.
He smiles, kind of burps a little bit and blows it at the champion.
Lysana gets a 5 under 25.
Alara gets a 21 under 40.
19 under 29.
42 under 105.
It's clear that the Ashgara is doing something. She has been very focused on the fight, but also seems to be moving something back and forward on her fingers. And with the second sight that's up, that Lysana has up, you can tell that there's a mystical effect coming off of her. And there's this trail of energy that leads from her to her champion. Somehow he's still operating, even though the leg wound probably should have been fatal. And for you, Lysana, that doesn't seem honorable. Actually, it's probably just the opposite. You might come to the same conclusion, Faisal, that the leg wound should have been it should have been over. But somehow, some way, he's still up.
Lysana turns to Faisal. They cheat. And she makes no bones. She says it loud enough that enough people that the crowd can hear. They cheat. They are feeding him magics. I can see it. We hold back and we are honorable on our end, but it only shows how unhonorable the Lunars are. Quit your magics and let them fight.
Hold to the terms of the duel. This is a duel of honor. There will be no dishonorable enhancement.
Okay. So that is something that's noticed at the end of the round.
If I might
Please.
interject at this point, Irving hasn't exactly been completely quiet over the last couple of rounds. He's rather been busy humming to himself, twirling his beard, listening to what is going on. And he's instead going to let loose with a sorcerer's incantation of command onto Faisal as they utter those words. Net effect basically being it's a power roll-off between Faisal and the lady in red to, do as she wishes.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. Let's do that.
Any way I can use my honor passion here?
Yeah, why not?
Hell yeah.
Why not?
Okay.
I'll give you whatever you got because this lady's no slouch when it comes to POW.
Okay. So I rolled a 6 on my honor passion under 60.
Okay. 6 under 60, so at least 30%.
I'm gonna need it.
Better.
I'm gonna need it. So I'm now rolling with a POW of 90.
Yep.
Okay. 19.
Okay. 19 is good.
Under
I
90.
rolled a 5.
Okay, not good enough.
No, but I will also spend a hand of fate for you, which will allow you to beat her in a contest of wills. So when the command comes out of Faisal's mouth, it is authoritative and the final word. And she doesn't so much stop as if she has been ordered to, in the sense that she's submitting to your guidelines. She stops out of pure frustration, like you've broken her concentration on what she was doing. And you can tell the anger on her face at being forced by someone else to not be able to concentrate on it. And you can tell clearly, Vargas, that the man you're fighting, as we come round to your action, is not on the same footing he once was, as a spark inside of him is gone.
All right, I attack.
Okay.
No, not with that. That's 88 over 67.
Okay. Let's see here. I will give you a reroll via the Hand of Fate.
Hey. Thank you, Patreon. You're my very favorite friend. 27 under 67.
Okay. Yeah, and that is a 90 on his parry, so that will not work for him.
No, it's not so much. Let me see
No.
where I hit him. Left arm.
All right. Roll damage, left arm.
15.
Okay. Yeah, the spear goes in his left arm. It punctures and gets past the shield blocking that he was doing. And you drive him from one way into the other. He topples over.
Is he still alive?
It's hard to say specifically if he's still alive. But when you pull the spear out of him, he doesn't move.
Okay.
You stand there, spear bloody, blood all over the tiles here. And Sorrow raises his hands and says, "This duel is concluded." And the only thing that interrupts his speech is the sound of several members of the lunar group getting very, very ill at the same time.
What's wrong? Can't stand the sight of blood?
Finn wanders over to the side. No, I think they've had a little too much to drink. It's unfortunate. Locks eyes with the lady, if he can, and just raises a wine glass.
Yes, you see that she's moved from where she was at to beginning to assist her ailing lunar group with the problems that they seem to be having.
Bury your man. He fought valiantly.
Some of the lunars, as they continue to wrestle with what the Yermali seem to have done to them, pull this man from the tile and back to their space. And Sarah comes over to the group of you. You will have the lots, but you must leave. You and your compatriot violated our rules.
I understand. But you'll not see me again.
He nods. He casts a glance towards, we'll just say your benefactor merchant, just for a moment, and almost perhaps gives a knowing smile to him before heading back to his place amongst the stands to continue on with the day's work. All told, though, you have about 20 members of your clan, which, truth be told, is a meager sum compared to the nearly 400 that once stood in the Vale. But you do collect some very important people to you. You're all, at least somewhat, going to be hustled out of the city. I wonder, though, if you might have any passing words for your agent today.
We cannot thank you enough for what you've done. We can't repay you yet, but we will.
It is often thus the hand that forces you. We do what we must. All I ask is that should your path ever cross that of Atyar, you show no mercy.
That we can do.
So the group and your belongings, including the horses, especially Alara and Arcat, are hustled out of the block, back down a dusty road, one which to be traveled in the future, as the future of our group of Sardarites is not yet written. Adventures throughout Dragon Pass will continue in the future here on the Old Ways. And they may take different forms and shapes and times, but there is something yet to be discovered, and many more adventures to come. I want to thank my cast this season, who were amazing to play with. Our guest this evening, Staffan, who provided us some amazing depth. Thanks very much for playing. And if you enjoyed RuneQuest on the Old Ways, please let us know. We do many things on this show based on listener feedback and what you want to hear. And so if you like it, or if you love it, let us know. And so for this season of Adventures in Dragon Pass, I will say good night and, well, happy hunting.